tell you what I want. I want something now. This is the life I got left. You know what I mean?
Why do a book haul? That's a good question. Why do a book haul? Okay, I do actually think there's several reasons. I think they're really good. I like watching them, actually. So I'm a bit biased because I like watching them. But I do think it's a chance to talk about books. And you can't always talk about the contents of the books because usually you haven't read them. But sometimes you'll buy something you've already read. But I think in the cases of this current book haul, I think that's not going to be the case. But it's a good way of sharing your taste, and someone might be watching going, hey, I like that as well. Or, you know, when you become friends with another booktuber, there's some kind of link there because you've been showing what you like buying and that kind of thing. And there could be other conversation pieces from it as well. He might say something that's interesting while you're talking about the book, possibly. I don't know if I'll ever say anything interesting, but it's possible. And it's fun to go through those kind of things. I don't do it as a, oh, look what I've got, because I don't really think many people do. I think it's a conversation piece. It's a chance to talk about books and authors as well, and something new that's coming out maybe, and often book events as well. It's a chance to talk about book events, I think, as well, because the amount of times once you get involved in a book event, your radar's up and you start buying for the book event, and that's definitely the case here. But you know, not every person who watches BookTube watches every video from every video content provider that they like. So I've come to terms with the idea over the years. I've realised that actually repetition's fine. You can repeat yourself, and actually you're only going to be repeating yourself to a small number of your subscribers. Most people don't watch all the videos. So there is a little bit of repetition, and actually some of the repetition is happening today. I'm going to video 3 videos today, and one of them is my first kind of TBR for Garbaugust proper, because I did a Garbaugust announcement one, but I'm going to film a Garbaugust TBR one. It's a little bit more honed in, and it'll feature some of the things that I've recently got, which is going to be in this video, and also a monthly roundup, which does it include some? No, it doesn't actually include. Yes, it will include. I've read some of the things that I've bought already, actually. So yeah, so there's a little bit of myxomatosis going on. But yeah, I think book hauls are cool. So if you're watching this thinking, oh, why am I watching another book haul? God, I'm so polite watching his videos. Then I apologise. But if you're watching this thinking, yes, book haul, show me the books, then yeah, I can relate to that, because that's what I'm thinking when I see someone do a book haul. But what I'm going to do it in 3 parts. The reason I'm going to do it in 3 parts is because if you get to the point where you have actually seen my New Orleans video, you might not want to see the New Orleans books. And then that will be the last bit of the video. So the first bit of the video is going to be books I haven't mentioned yet that I've recently found in the wild. And then the second bit, which again, if you've seen the Garbaugust video, then you might not want to watch the second bit, which would be just about the 4 books that I'm going to talk about that relate, actually 5 books. Yeah, how am I going to do that? There's one that's in the there's a Venn diagram happening here that's throwing me completely. Technically 5 books that link to Garbaugust. So yeah, that's going to be the second section, and then the third section will be the New Orleans books. So I bought tons of books in New Orleans, but I've got some really interesting stuff. It goes across a whole gamut of styles and genres, and fiction and non-fiction as well. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you like these authors. Let me know if you know some of these books. I'm really looking forward to later today, after I've had my dinner, I'm going to do the monthly roundup, and I'm very excited to talk about it because I'll be talking about one of my favourite authors, so that's going to be cool. But in the meantime, let's talk about some books. So one of the things I bought was Erasure. So this is absolutely bouncing off the New Orleans trip because I had to get it after watching the film American Fiction on the plane, and the film American Fiction is based on this book Erasure by Percival Everett, and the film completely blew me away. And I had a little flick through the book in the shop, and I think I'm going to like the book as well. And if I do, it'll be really interesting because obviously he's quite a prolific author and he's very renowned, revered, award-winning author. So it'd be nice if there's a contemporary, non-speculative fiction author that I can really get into. And I absolutely love the film so much. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. So Erasure by Percival Everett. Tell me if you've read it, please, or anything you've read by him. I know lots of people have been talking about James recently, which is his riffing on Huckleberry Finn. But tell me if you've read Erasure. That'd be interesting. So you may have seen lately that I've been on a bit of a Kafka kick lately. And I bought letters to Melina. So these are actual letters that he wrote to his one-time muse, Milena Dzinska, an intimate window into the desires and hopes of the 20th century's most prophetic and important writer. So yeah, this is a bit of non-fiction really. Kafka's letters to his muse. So can't wait to read that. I found a graphic novel, which I really like the artwork, of The Lottery. So The Lottery is one of the greatest short stories ever written, and I am fascinated by the idea that there's a graphic novel version. I am really excited to read this. I'm probably going to read this in the next week, but I think we're going to be dipping into August at that point, so I don't think I'll be able to talk about it on my July roundup. But yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? The Lottery, Shirley Jackson. I'm sure you've read it if you're watching this channel. If you haven't read the actual story, The Lottery, it's not very long, and I definitely recommend it. Try and find it somewhere because it really is very, very special. It's very disturbing, it's powerful, and it's quite rightly revered through the decades. So yeah, The Lottery, Shirley Jackson, a graphic novel version. I found a biography of Muddy Waters. That's just so exciting seeing this. Can't be satisfied. The life and times of Muddy Waters. I am absolutely gutted that I rationalised myself out of buying a Muddy Waters t-shirt while I was in New Orleans. I feel so stupid about it. I should have got it. Didn't get it. I'm an idiot. But there we are. It's just one of those things. But I am a huge fan of Muddy Waters, and I talk about him all the time to my students. He's such an important man. And this is a biography of his life and times. Can't Be Satisfied is one of his famous songs. So yeah, Muddy Waters. Yes. Yes. The Hoochie Coochie Man. Okay, so recently, I don't remember where I bought it or when I bought it, but very recently, in the last few weeks, possibly just before I went to New Orleans, I bought Adrian Tchaikovsky's book, Alien Clay. Oh no, it was a little bit before that, wasn't it? Because I was talking about the fact that I was planning to read that in September. But actually, I've also bought his other new book called Service Model. So there we are. Got all excited and I bought that. Service Model. I've got quite a lot of Tchaikovsky now to catch up on, but I absolutely love what he does. So that was cool. I found the latest book by Hiromi Kawakami. So I've been talking about Hiromi Kawakami on my channel quite a lot. And this is a novel she's written called The Third Love. And it's a romance novel, but as it's her, I'm sure it's a little bit different because she doesn't write conventional literature. I mean, the thing that made her famous was Strange Weather in Tokyo, but I've read quite a lot of her stuff now, and she's quite unpredictable, actually. She writes some real fantastical things, and she writes things like Strange Weather in Tokyo that's a little bit more domestic, but still a little bit odd, and like conceptual stuff, like The 10 Lives of Mr. Nishino. But yeah, I'm really intrigued and excited to read this. I'm trying to keep up and just basically read as much, make sure I've read everything she's done. Couple of things I found, other things I found. There's the World's Greatest War Cartoonist and Caricaturist, big old coffee table kind of book. I've got a few of these kind of things, but Mark Bryant has done quite a lot of academic books on cartoonists and caricaturists of the past. So yeah, I am very excited to read this, and this will help in my mission to, at some point, I've got to do it, I keep saying it, do a video on when and how successfully cartoons tell the stories of history, tell the lessons of history, tell the opinions of historical figures, the editorial opinions of newspapers, that kind of thing. If I can work out how to do it and really spend some good time on it, it should be a good video. So that's what I want to do, and this book will clearly help me do that. I was going to do something like, can you tell history through cartoons, you know. But slightly different kind of cartoonist thing. But I'm sure you probably, if you do watch my channel, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of New Yorker cartoons, and I collect New Yorker books. And this is one I didn't have yet. So this is one, the New Yorker 75th anniversary cartoon collection. I thought I had this, but I don't recognise the cover. So who knows? Maybe I have got it, but with a different cover. That would be funny. But yeah, I'm going to have a look upstairs at some point, and have a little mosey. But yeah, as you can probably imagine, it's just full of cartoons. One panel cartoons in general, it tends to be the thing for New Yorker. And I prefer one panel cartoons myself, rather than strip cartoons. So, I also found a few other things. So, this was really cheap. This was like, well, how much was it? 50p or something? 50p? Something like that. And I've always been curious about it because I like the Rivers of London books, and this is a graphic novel of, well, kind of short stories from the Rivers of London universe, the Rivers of London characters, Peter Grant there, all that kind of thing. But I do like the Rivers of London books, so I'll be interested to find out whether this is any good. This is what the artwork's like. I don't know, find a page that's got more pictures on it, this sort of thing. So yeah, I'll be reading this soon. I got a book by Andy Hamilton. So this was I'd never heard of the book before. I know Andy Hamilton because he's a bit of a public figure in this country. If you watch the right things, he's on QI a lot, and he is funny on panel games. And he's a comedy writer who wrote Drop the Dead Donkey, a TV sitcom, and a couple of other sitcoms. And I thought I'd go for it because again, it was like 3 for £1 in my charity shop down the road. Longhand. Yeah, longhand. Don't know what it's like. Well, actually, it's a really odd book because it's the whole book is this is a book about someone who's left their boss and they've written a letter explaining why they've done it, and the whole thing is an enormous letter, which I've never seen that sort of thing before. So I think that's kind of interesting. So yeah, Longhand. This looks quite a unique book. Andy Hamilton. So I got that, and I was really intrigued by this. So this is Chapi Koshandi is a comedian in this country who I think is really funny, but she's written a book about ADHD. So I am investigating very slowly because I might have ADHD. I'm investigating very slowly whether or not I've got it or not, and I'm reading this. I'm gonna read this, hoping that I'll identify with it, because it'll be interesting if I do. It might connect a little bit to some of the weird things in my brain. So it's called Scatterbrain, How I Finally Got Off the ADHD Roller Coaster and Became the Owner of a Very Tidy Sock Drawer. Funnily enough, one of my missions this week is to sort out my clothes. Yeah, Scatterbrain by Chappie Koshandi. So that's kind of interesting. That's that I'd never heard of that, and I found it in this charity shop, and I thought, yeah, okay. And because it's £3 for £1, I couldn't find anything else. I thought, well, it's just as cheap just to add this, because they had this, and I've already got this like twice or 3 times, so I'll give this to someone so that they can enjoy Fahrenheit 451. So I got that in the charity shop. So let's talk about the second part, which is the stuff that could qualify for Garbaugust, and we'll dovetail into the American books. So I bought a few crime books, the hard case crime. I think the hard case crime are really like trashy in their covers and in the plots. They're usually written quite well, but then, you know, Ollie's always saying it doesn't mean they're bad books. It just means they're a little bit sensationalist, and I think the hard case crime books can be like that. So I found this one for 99p, which is pretty cool. Deadly Beloved by Max Allan Collins. I haven't read a Max Allan Collins book before, but I've got a couple of them now. So I got that one, Deadly Beloved. I like that kind of format of the hard case crime one as well. This is a really short one, so I got that. But I did actually get another one, Double Down. And look at that. If that's not a Garbaugust cover, all of the Max Allan Collins books with Nolan in it have got these kind of covers, but I think that's a great cover. Double Down. And then I also got a Donald E. Westlake one, and I like Donald E. Westlake's stuff, actually. So this was kind of a nice find. Forever and a Death, it's called. Again, with a typical hard case crime kind of cover. That, again, lends itself to Garbaugust, I think. It's very sensationalist, action-packed, men's adventure type cover. So Forever and a Death. So I hadn't seen that one before, so it was quite nice seeing that one on the shelves. And I bought a Skyrim book. I didn't even know there were Skyrim books. So I love Skyrim, and if I feel like whiling away the hours, switching off my brain and doing nothing, not even using my brain to read, but literally vacating my brain, I will switch Skyrim on or Red Dead, and love living in that world for a minute. I love Skyrim. So The Infernal City, an Elder Scrolls novel. So yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm definitely gonna read this for Garbaugust. So yeah, Skyrim book. Tell me below if you love Skyrim. All right, and then the last one I'm going to talk about in the context of Garbaugust, and I think this is like probably the trashiest of all the books that I'm going to read, I reckon, and you know, because it ticks a few boxes, but it's it's ridiculous, and it was actually written by a local author to New Orleans. So this is one of the books I bought in New Orleans, but I didn't mention this in the vlog in New Orleans, so there's actually there's no repetition here, and that was Swiftopia. So this is a horror book that is like where all these Taylor Swift fans turn into zombies. And I think it's a comment on the idea of worshipping a rock star. But it's probably critical of Taylor Swift. I've got a lot of time for Taylor Swift, actually. But I'm going to read this. This sounds like a lot of fun and clearly quite crazy. Yeah. He had loads of books in that shop, actually. He's written quite a few. But Swiftopia, a book about an uprising of zombies that were Taylor Swift fans before they became undead. So there's that. So let's like quickly go through the other things I bought in New Orleans. And if you have already seen the New Orleans video, then clearly don't worry about the last bit. Thank you for watching it. If you haven't seen it, you've missed out on an alligator a few feet away from my camera. You've missed out on a guy that was doing some busking while he was singing and playing the trumpet and tap dancing at the same time. And yeah, an old woman who's at the top of a boat playing some circus music on a pipe organ. What? Come on. And some raccoons. All sorts of things you see in that video. There's some great street music from the brass bands and stuff. But there's lots of book hauls throughout the video. which is where I talk about these books. So I'm going to go quickly through them. So we got Dr. John, Under a Hoodoo Moon, a biography of Dr. John. I'm a big Dr. John fan, and he lived in New Orleans. A Charles Bukowski poetry book, Mockingbird, Wish Me Luck, which has millionaires in it, which is a brilliant poem. This was an amazing find. This is a memoir by Harry Harrison. So you may have seen, if you saw a video a few weeks ago, well, probably about 6 weeks ago now, where I talked about my affection for Harry Harrison and his work, and I'd never seen this before, didn't know it existed. A memoir of Harry Harrison himself, which is pretty cool. So I need to read that soon. Something else for my Ray Bradbury collection, the Toy Boy Convector. In the New Orleans video, I say the Toynbee connection. It's Toynbee connection. Clearly, I wasn't speaking properly. The Toynbee Convector. This is one of the latest things he wrote chronologically. If you think about when he started, it's relatively later. Big collection of Robert Sheckley stuff. You know as well, possibly if you know my videos, that I'm a big Robert Sheckley fan as well. And this is a collection of his short stories, a massive collection of his short stories actually. And I've probably got most of the short stories already. But clearly, this was bought in Crescent City Books, which is great, a great shop. And then in one of the shops, oh, this was in the Confederate Museum actually. I bought Slave Songs of the United States. This is an academic book that analyzes the music of the slave songs. So, very excited to have that. And on that note, when we went to the plantation, which again, if you watch the video, you see how upsetting it was. Literally, in the plantation, I walked around it for about 10 minutes, and I just had to sit down and cry for a bit. It was sort of like welling up. It was kind of building up through the different stages of the walk around the plantation, and I had to just pause and get it all out and then carry on. It's such a powerful experience. But anyway, I bought Slavery's Exiles, and this is about the Maroons. So they were these slaves that managed to escape, and they kind of lived in the swamps. And I hadn't heard of these people before, and it sounds really fascinating. So yeah, that's something that I really am looking forward to reading. And then just a few more left over. So this was one that I was looking for on eBay and stuff, and I found it in the wild. The book that analyzes the artwork and the attitude and the careers of Peter Arno, William Steig, Charles Adams, and Saul Steinberg. So 4 important people connected to the New Yorker. And as you can see, it's not just their work, it's about them. So it's not just a bunch of cartoons, but there will be some cartoons in there. So yeah, really fascinating stuff. So I'm really excited to read that. This was one of the things I have actually read, so you'll see this in the roundup. George Booth's book, Think Good Thoughts About a Pussycat. And I was a bit disappointed by it, but I was so pleased to find it because he's an important cartoonist, so he's important for my collection. But some of the cartoons I didn't even understand. So here we are. And then this one was another thing that I bought because I'd heard about it, and it was quite cheap, and I thought I'd go for it. And it's like an overview of Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore. So I don't really know a lot about Strangers in Paradise, but I'm going to read it, and then if I'm intrigued more, I'll buy some of the actual raw material. So also in New Orleans, I've got a bunch of science fiction books, inevitably. So some of it was based on the cover. So I got Ron Goulard's A Whiff of Madness. Look at that awesome cover. I love it. So I haven't read any Ron Goulard yet, but I've got another one that I bought because of the cover as well. So Whiff of Madness, and then I bought a special version of Fahrenheit 451 that I was enraptured by. And I bought this copy of Fahrenheit 451. I really like the cover. I thought it was a really interesting original copy. It's a bit of a shame that someone's written Hunter across the side there, but yeah, there's an old vintage copy of Fahrenheit 451. And Medicine for Melancholy I didn't have, so something else in my Ray Bradbury collection. The list of what I haven't got is getting very, very small. So that was really cool to find that. Didn't expect to find that. A very nice vintage copy of The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis. I love that cover. That was really nice to find. And really bizarre cover that I had to buy. A very cute cover. Joseph Green's Conscience Interplanetary. Look at that cute cover. And a book written by Michael Dorn, which is pretty cool. So Michael Dorn plays Worf in Star Trek. And Worf is my all-time favourite character. Him and Cisco are my two favourite characters. So Time Blender, we'll see what this is like. So that was found in a shop in New Orleans. This looks like a computer is under some investigation by some sort of court case. The Venetian court. What a fantastic cover. And then a Mike Resnick book called The Best Rootin' Tootin' Shooting Gunslinger in the Whole Damn Galaxy. Got that as well. That was an extremely expensive purchase. And that was actually bought by my mate as a present, which is very nice of him. I picked it up. I wanted to get it, and I thought I'm spending too much money, and I put it back. And he said, I'll get it for you. So that was really nice of him. I don't know how trashy this is. I don't know if it suits Garbaugust or not, but it's got quite a trashy title. But it's probably the kind of science fiction I absolutely love. I like that kind of comic science fiction, light-hearted stuff. And a couple of things from the big names in my literary brain. This is The Wit and Wisdom of Hun Ellison, a very small little dinky book. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's a very small book with lots of quotes from him. So it's a little bit bizarre, but there we are. The Wit and Wisdom of Hun Ellison. And the big thing that I found, I got excited about in the video, Monster Rally, the original edition of Monster Rally by Charles Addams. So I'm always looking out for Charles Addams books. And I have got this in another edition, but it's nice to have the original edition. So it was quite a big spend, that one, look. But for me, it was absolutely worth it because I collect this stuff properly. So there we are. That's an interesting, I think, collection of a whole range of different books, bought in different places. Half of them bought in New Orleans, half of them bought in England. All of them I'm going to read. Some of them you may have read. Please let me know below what you've read, what you're intrigued by. If you've intrigued by Swiftopia, or if you play Skyrim, let me know if you play Skyrim. And thanks for watching. As always, stay curious.